uninvited guest. Growing up, my world was blissfully ordinary, revolving around the small, cozy neighborhood where I lived. Right next door was my best friend Lexi, a girl of the same age, who shared my love for adventure and late-night gossip sessions. Our bond was unbreakable, strengthened by countless sleepovers and shared secrets. Our parents, sharing a passion for the open road, often embarked on weekend motorcycle trips together. These excursions left Lexi and me in charge of our respective homes, a responsibility we relished as it gave us a taste of grown-up freedom. These weekends were our little escapades, filled with movie marathons, experimenting with makeup, and talking about everything under the sun. Everything about those nights felt safe and familiar. Our routine was simple and unvaried. We'd start by raiding the kitchen for snacks, then settle in Lexi's room, which was larger and had a better collection of movies and games. We'd stay up late, talking about school, our crushes, and our dreams for the future. Never once during those nights did we experience anything out of the ordinary. No spooky sounds, no unexplained shadows, nothing that even remotely hinted at the paranormal. The concept of ghosts and hauntings was reserved for the stories we told each other, always ending with a laugh and a shake of the head, reassuring ourselves that such things were mere figments of our overactive imaginations. Little did we know, our beliefs were about to be challenged in the most unsettling way. It was during one of these nights, while Lexi and I were sprawled across her bed, chatting about our latest school drama, that the ordinary nature of our evenings took a drastic turn. We were laughing, our voices mingling with the soft music playing in the background, when suddenly a bright light flashed through her window. We paused, startled, as the sound of gravel crunching under heavy wheels followed it. It was unmistakable, the sound of motorcycles, much like those our parents rode. "Our parents are back early?" Lexi murmured, a frown creasing her forehead. We both knew it was unusual. They never returned before Sunday evening. Before we could process this further, a chilling moment unfolded. A soft, unfamiliar woman's voice echoed through the house.
"Hello?"
Followed by the creak of the front door. A sound as familiar to us as our own names. The door scraped against the hardwood floor, a telltale sign that it was being opened wide. A jolt of fear ran through me. "That's not your mom's voice," I whispered, my heart starting to race. Lexi nodded, her eyes wide with the same realization. We tiptoed out of her room, our earlier bravado replaced with trepidation. The house felt different, as if the air itself had thickened with unease. We moved silently, our ears straining for any sound.
"Hello?"
The voice called out again, a soft, eerie melody that sent shivers down my spine. It was definitely not the voice of any of our family members, all of whom had distinct Texan accents. Reaching the living room, our worst fears were confirmed. The front door stood wide open, a gaping portal to the dark, quiet night outside. But there was no one there. No motorcycles, no parents, no mysterious woman. Just the silent, empty driveway and the cool night air drifting in. Stood there, frozen, staring at the open door. Lexi's hand found mine, her grip tight. We were alone in the house, with an uninvited presence that had seemingly vanished as quickly as it appeared. The tranquility of our evening was shattered, replaced by a palpable dread that neither of us could shake off. With hearts pounding, we mustered the courage to check every room, every corner, under every bed, and behind every door. There was nothing. No sign of anyone having been there. The house was as we had left it, except for the open door that now seemed like a silent scream in the stillness of the night. Returning to Lexi's room, I tried to make sense of what had just happened, but there were no logical explanations, only the unnerving reality that something or someone had breached the sanctuary of our home. And the night was far from over. As we returned to Lexi's room, a sudden sense of foreboding washed over me. Lexi, who had been right beside me, hesitated at the threshold, her face pale as moonlight. It was then, in a split second, her strength faltered, and she collapsed to the floor, her body racked with uncontrollable sobs.
Lexi,
I cried, rushing to her side. Her eyes, wide with terror, met mine. "There's something in my parents' room," she gasped between sobs. "A tall, shadowy figure standing right there. It's clear as day." Her words sent a cold shiver down my spine. My mind raced, trying to rationalize what she said. A fear clouded my thoughts. The very idea of something unexplainable and ominous lurking in the house was paralyzing. Gathering every ounce of courage I had, I helped Lexi to her feet. "Need to check it out," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "We have to know what's in there." Hand in hand, we edged towards her parents' room, our hearts pounding in unison. The air felt thick, charged with a silent tension. As we neared the door, which was ajar, the overwhelming feeling of being watched crept over me. Pushing the door open, we peered inside. The room was bathed in a soft glow of the moonlight streaming through the window, casting elongated shadows across the floor. But there, in the far corner, stood a figure so tall and dark, it seemed to absorb the light around it. It was motionless, a silent sentinel in the dark. Its presence was suffocating, filling the room with an oppressive dread. It felt as if time had stopped, the world holding its breath in anticipation. I wanted to scream, to run, but my feet were rooted to the spot. The figure was unlike anything I had ever seen or imagined. It was as if the shadows themselves had come alive, woven together into a form both terrifying and mesmerizing. The figure stood there, an enigma cloaked in darkness. For a moment, it felt like it was staring right into our souls. The air around us grew colder, and the oppressive feeling in the room intensified. Then, suddenly as it appeared, the figure began to dissolve, melting into the shadows until it was gone as if it had never been there at all. The room felt empty, the tension dissipating like mist in the morning sun. Lexi and I stood there, frozen, unable to process what we had just seen. The encounter with the shadowy figure had left us shaken to our core, a haunting experience that would forever change the way we viewed the world around us. After witnessing the inexplicable shadow, fear and confusion swirled within me like a storm. I turned to Lexi, her tear-streaked face a mirror of my own terror. I wrapped my arms around her, offering what little comfort I could muster. Words felt inadequate in the face of what we had just seen. "We can't sleep tonight," I whispered, a decision born out of sheer fear of closing her eyes even for a moment. We spent the rest of the night huddled together in her living room, jumping at every creak and whisper of the house. Sleep was impossible, and the night stretched on, an unending tunnel of anxiety and fear. The morning light brought no relief. I felt as if the shadows of the night still lingered, clinging to the corners of the house. When our parents returned, their faces were etched with confusion and concern at finding us pale and exhausted. I tried to explain, to tell them about the mysterious woman's voice, the open front door, and most chillingly, the dark figure in Lexi's parents' room. But our words seemed to evaporate in the air, met with skeptical looks and gentle dismissive explanations. "It was probably just a dream," they suggested. "Your imagination's running wild." Their rational explanations, while usually comforting, now felt like a dismissal of our harrowing experience. The incident was brushed off, attributed to an overactive imagination fueled by too many late-night movies. But Lexi and I knew what we had seen. The fear had rooted itself deep within us, and it refused to be shaken off by logical reasoning. From that night on, a lingering fear enveloped us, especially when darkness fell. Sleepovers, once a source of joy and excitement, became a source of anxiety. The thought of being alone at night sent waves of panic through me. Our behavior changed drastically. We became more withdrawn, more cautious. The carefree laughter and playful banter that once filled our days were replaced with hushed conversations and uneasy glances. Staying at Lexi's house, once my second home, now filled me with dread. The fear of encountering that dark figure again was overwhelming. Our friendship, though still strong, was now colored by the shared trauma of that night. We were bound by an experience that no one else believed, a haunting memory that lingered in the back of our minds, never quite fading. The incident at Lexi's house had opened a door to a reality we could not close, a world where the lines between the known and the unknown were blurred. The haunting had changed us, and the echoes of the fear that would resonate with us for a long time to come. Haunted by what we had experienced, I found myself driven by a need for answers. I couldn't just let go of the shadows that had invaded our lives. Lexi and I started to dig into the history of our house and the surrounding area, scouring old records and the local archives. Our search uncovered unsettling stories, tales of unexplained occurrences, fleeting shadows seen by previous residents, whispers of a house with a troubled past. The more we learned, the more it seemed that our encounter was part of a larger tapestry of paranormal activity tied to the house itself. But it was an old legend about the land before the neighborhood was built that truly sent chills down our spines. The land, it was said, was once home to a solitary figure shrouded in tragedy, a woman whose presence still lingered, lost in searching for something or someone. Determined to face our fears, we decided to confront the entity. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the house, we cautiously stepped into Lexi's parents' room. There, we waited, our hearts pounding in anticipation. A familiar chill filled the air, and the shadowy figure emerged once more. This time, we stood our ground, a mix of fear and resolve steadying our voices.
"Why are you here?"
I asked, my voice barely above a whisper.
"What do you want?"
To our astonishment, the figure paused, its form wavering slightly. In the heavy silence, a faint whisper filled the room, a voice filled with sorrow and longing.
"My child. This child."
It murmured, the words heavy with an ancient pain. Understanding dawned on us. This entity, this ghost, was not malevolent. She was a mother, lost in her grief, bound to the place where she had once lived, her story etched into the very walls of the house. Our final encounter with the entity came suddenly. It was as if understanding her pain had opened a door. The room grew colder, the air thick with an electric charge. The figure's form became clearer, more defined, and then, with a final, heart-wrenching sob that echoed through the room, she vanished. In that moment, it felt as if a weight had been lifted from the house. The oppressive feeling of being watched, the lingering chill in the air, all of it was gone. The haunting had escalated to its climax, and then, just as quickly, it had resolved. The entity's purpose, rooted in her unending search for her lost child, had been revealed. And with our understanding, it seemed she had found some semblance of peace. In the aftermath, Lexi and I often reflected on that encounter. The experience had changed us, opening our eyes to the mysteries that lay beyond the veil of the known world. We were left with a sense of wonder, a realization that the world was filled with stories and entities beyond our understanding. The house, once a place of fear, now felt calm, the shadow of the grieving mother no longer lingering in its corners. We had faced the unknown, and in doing so, we had brought closure to a lingering spirit lost in time. The memory of that haunting would stay with us forever, a reminder of the night we confronted a ghost and uncovered a story of loss and eternal love. The experiences Lexi and I shared during those haunting nights left an indelible mark on us. We were no longer the carefree girls who giggled into the night, oblivious to the world's hidden depths. Our eyes had been opened to a reality that existed alongside our own, one that was equally terrifying and fascinating. I often reflect on how those encounters with the unknown transformed us. We developed a sensitivity to the subtleties of our surroundings, a heightened awareness that often made us feel older than our years. There was a newfound maturity in our approach to the unknown, a respect for the mysteries that lay just beyond the reach of human understanding. The nature of fear, I realized, was not just about the immediate terror of facing something beyond comprehension. It was also about the unsettling realization that the world was far more complex and enigmatic than we had ever imagined. Fear had become a constant companion, a reminder that there existed things beyond our control and understanding. As I look back, My thoughts on the paranormal have evolved from skepticism to a cautious acceptance. The haunting at Lexi's house opened a doorway to a world I had never believed in, a world where spirits lingered and the stories of the past refused to be forgotten. The lasting effects of that incident have woven themselves into the very fabric of our lives. Lexi and I, once inseparable, found ourselves walking slightly different paths, each of us processing the experience in our own way. We remained close, bound by an experience that few others could understand, but there was always a shadow that lingered in our conversations, a silent acknowledgement of what we had witnessed. Our beliefs about the supernatural had shifted dramatically. No longer could we dismiss tales of hauntings and spirits as mere superstitions or fanciful stories. We had faced the paranormal, felt its icy touch, and heard its whispered sorrow. It had become a part of our reality, a chapter in our lives that we could neither deny nor completely leave behind. In the end, the encounter with the ghost at Lexi's taught us about the fragility of our understanding of the world. It showed us that there are mysteries that defy explanation, experiences that challenge our beliefs, and stories that, though hidden, demand to be acknowledged and remembered. As I move forward in life, the memories of those nights remain with me, a haunting reminder of the unseen world that exists in the shadows, waiting to be discovered and understood. The fear has lessened, but the awe and wonder remain, a testament to the enduring mystery of the supernatural that continues to captivate the human imagination.